I'm Rick Horrow. We're keeping score. The ongoing St. Louis, San Diego, Oakland, leverage, musical chairs, Who in L.A., stadium saga with some Byzantine and dramatic twists and turns. And the guy from Reuters who's been on it from start to finish is the top news editor in L.A., Brian Thevenot. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for calling.
Absolutely. So give us your, understanding that the story can be dated 5 minutes old. Give us kind of your top-line assessment on the equities involved in the multi-stadium proposals and also the three cities coming to a leverage point at exactly the same time.
Right. Well, I think that's all very purposeful. And if I think sort of the big thing to realize in all of this is that, the NFL has been bluffing for 20 years with relocations to LA, and a bluff only works if you actually take action every once in a while. So I think the owners are highly motivated because they're not getting what they want out of these other cities to go ahead and pull the trigger on an LA relocation finally.
So, Brian, at the end of the day, you have a St. Louis stadium plan that had pieces to it that look like a public-private partnership as well. You have a San Diego plan that is maybe a little bit lip service, and you have no Oakland stadium plan. I know the equities change daily, but how do you assess the equities in that environment?
Tell me what you mean by equities.
Well, I guess what I really mean is that the politicians always want to put a public-private partnership together, and the NFL has successfully leveraged the public-private partnerships in all of those situations. But regardless of the two LA stadium proposals themselves, how would you evaluate the relative stadium processes in San Diego, LA, and St. Louis? San Diego,
well, I think,
Oakland,
I think,
St. Louis. Sorry.
I know a good bit about St. Louis. I actually used to live there and cover that town and partly this story. And they have been in perpetual stadium talks. It seems like forever. They actually, when they first got the Rams, they cut a deal with them, or at some point early in the tenure, that the Rams would have in this sort of awkward way of defining it, one of the best stadiums in the National Football League at some point, or they would leave. So this has sort of been coming down the train, or coming down the track for a long time there. And they put together what seems to be, what you would think is a pretty nice stadium proposal for a $1 billion stadium on the riverfront there. But I think Stan Kroenke is looking at a potentially $2 billion stadium complex with a much larger real estate play in LA, and I don't think the subsidies that St. Louis could offer are going to be worth it to him if he can win approval. Now, so I think the other, the St. Louis is the best package of the three. As you pointed out, I think Oakland is not offering a whole lot right now, or at least can't get consensus on it. And San Diego is offering less, I think $350 million as their portion of the stadium. So I think the most likely scenario is you're going to see two teams with Los Angeles.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those situations that maybe past tense as the owners do meet on this. But in a broader context, if you were to deal with this in the context of industrial relocation, if this were just a normal widget company that was moving from point A to point B, would there be as much controversy, angst, visibility, exposure? And if so, what do you think the real differences are? And is this all that much different than a city's bidding for the relocation of an automaking headquarters, for example?
I think the main difference is that a major corporation like that, and especially like if you're talking about, let's say, a manufacturing operation, actually thinks a hell of a lot more jobs and economic impact than a football team. But that often gets lost in these conversations. You're talking about a home team that plays 8 games a year, so there's a certain amount of activity that surrounds that. There's obviously a lot of rich people that work for the NFL living in your town. But beyond that, the economic impact, many studies have shown, is not that big. It wouldn't be as big as if you're looking purely at the economy, the local economy, a big employer would be a lot more worth it for a city that was considering subsidies.
And then I guess finally, from the quality of life perspective, Brian Thevenot, the top news editor for Reuters in LA, the idea of bringing Super Bowls in to celebrate, for example, what Levi Stadium is doing with Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco and the mega events that are attached to that, and the commitments that could be made as a consequence of bringing one or two teams to LA. How do you value that in the public sector equation? Do you, in your research that's been done, ascribe any value to that at all?
Well, there's certainly an intangible value, and especially for big-time football fans, I would say there's very little value for people who aren't into football. There is, one of the things about Los Angeles that really makes it different is, and I think one of the reasons why I didn't have a team for 20 years is people in Los Angeles don't really feel like they need a football team to be big time from a sort of community psychological standpoint. There's just so much here as entertainment capital of the world, so much sports, Lakers, Dodgers, big time college football, that a city like Los Angeles doesn't miss it as much as a smaller city, say like a Jacksonville or a St. Louis or an Oakland.
And that, in a nutshell, may be all it takes. And the Houston meetings, very significant as far as what they've done. The New York meetings, even more. Brian Thevenot, thank you very much for shedding some light on this evolving situation. I'm Rick Horrow.